So growth opportunities are one thing, your current financial position and your future plans. All these things will determine whether you need a loan or you do not.
Take us through the initial journey of Strokes. How did you start it, and where did the capital come from?
So, I have always been passionate about art, like since childhood, and I always wanted to create something based on art, some venture of my own. And this journey, I started it in the pandemic when I had quit my job and I wanted to pursue my passion. I started it from my living room. My first product was hand painted masks, which I used to hand paint myself, and I started selling them on social media. That's how the journey started. And after that, I launched a lot of different products, which were based on my artwork and in different categories, all day to day use products. And slowly, I realized that there was a very huge opportunity in the handbags industry,
Right.
where there was a section of premium handbags where very few brands were operating. And I felt like that space had a lot of potential to offer. So I then decided to focus on that category, and now we are building on the same thing. Now you ask me how did I get the capital from? Like I said, when I started initially, uh, तब मैं घर से ही स्टार्ट किया था मैंने like सिर्फ मास्क हैंड पेंट करके मैं बेच रही थी. तो मेरा कोई एक्सपेंस एज सच था नहीं. आई डेंट हैव एम्प्लॉयज और आई वाज नॉट रियली स्पेंडिंग ऑन मार्केटिंग. आई वाज सेलिंग थ्रू सोशल मीडिया. तो तभी मुझे कैपिटल एज सच बिल्कुल भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. मेरे पास जो थोड़े सेविंग्स थे उसी में से आई वाज मैनेजिंग. But yes, as the business grew and then I wanted to expand, at that time I definitely needed capital. Initially my family, friends and relatives helped me out with some funds, but then as we grew more we needed some external help as well, and at that point I did go for debt funding a couple of times in different forms, and I'll definitely discuss that in more detail as we talk.
Moving on, how can an entrepreneur determine the optimal loan amount needed for their business?
So what I do and what I feel is a great way to determine that is create a very comprehensive detailed business plan. Like what I do is I make a 5-year business plan, and I don't make just one plan, I make three plans. So just to tell you what is the business plan, it's basically uh, it's whatever plan you have for your business for the next 5 years, or next not necessarily 5 years, it can be a 2-year plan, 3-year plan. You put it down on Excel or on paper, and based on certain assumptions you make a complete comprehensive uh, plan of what amount you will be requiring, what will be your revenue, what will be your expenses, how you're going to expand. So if we go to the top section of the Excel sheet, suppose I have a certain target or goal in my mind that this is what I want to do with my brand in the next 2 years or 3 years. And this is how much I want my revenue to be or how much growth I want there to be. So accordingly, I'll make a plan and I make it phase wise, like 6 months or 1 year, 1 year, 2 years, in that format. First thing is the expenses. First comes the office expenses. Will I need a bigger space? Will I need more staff? And phase wise, I make a chart. Second comes the other expenses. Like now, that depends on all the channels that you are selling, and it depends on the kind of business you do. It might different businesses. But in my case, I sell online on my website, I sell on marketplaces, I sell on offline channels. So, according to that, all the places that I have to spend money, one will be marketing, then there will be shipping for me, there will be inventory, there will be maybe photo shoots. So, all these things I will make a table, and I'll make it phase wise depending on how much I will be spending during that time. And this is all like a futuristic thing. It's not necessary that things will exactly turn out in reality the way you are planning, but at least you have a reference point. Then comes the revenue. So based on all your revenue channels, you will make a table of what revenues you're generating. If I'm spending 10 lakhs in marketing, then how much am I going to generate out of it? If you are already running a business, then you will have some idea of what are the key metrics, what is your average order value, how much you are spending to get each order, what is your customer acquisition cost. If you have not yet started running a business, then probably you'll have to do a little research, and based on some assumptions you'll have to come up with these numbers. After that, there will be some expenses which will not be exactly counted as business expenses. They will be assets for the company. Like there will be inventory, there will be maybe deposit, or there will be some infrastructure that you're buying for the company, which will be counted as an asset. So that will also be a chart which you will have to make. And that is where you will understand how much fund exactly you are requiring. So when you reduce expenses from your revenue, you get your profit or loss. And from that, when you reduce all your assets and how much you're spending on the assets, then you get your fund flow. And once you get the fund flow, you will realize that year one मुझे इतना पैसा लग रहा है, year two मुझे इतना पैसा लग रहा है. Okay. So from there, you will be able to determine exactly how much money you will need for your future goals. And what I do is I make two plans. One is an ideal scenario plan where I feel that everything is going to work out just the way I want it to. Then I make another plan, which is a pessimistic plan, in which I take when where my expenses will be more than they are at actual, because I'm taking into account any unanticipated problems or hurdles that might come across, which I have not prepared myself for. And that's always a better approach, because I think all the entrepreneurs will agree कि भले ही हम कितना भी planning और preparation कर ले, there will always be a problem which will come out of nowhere and you have never thought about it. So it's better to have that plan as well. According to that, you will come to know कि I need this much money. Okay. Now the third plan is, suppose मुझे पता चला मुझे 25 lakhs चाहिए in the next 1.5 year to keep my business afloat. But I realized that I've approached banks, or I've approached financial organizations, और मुझे 10 lakhs ही अभी मिल रहे हैं. So then I make a plan in reverse कि मेरे पास 10 lakh ही है, तो मैं 10 lakh में कैसे I will manage this business. Then I will work it in the reverse fashion, that जहां पे मुझे बहुत ज्यादा कैपिटल लग रहा है, मे बी आई फोकस लेस देयर. जहां पे मेरा फंड फ्लो, कैश फ्लो इंक्रीज बेटर हो रहा है, वहां पे आई विल फोकस मोर, और मे बी आई रिड्यूस माई मार्केटिंग सो टू कट डाउन द कॉस्ट. ग्रोथ का स्पीड में शायद थोड़ा कम करूं. सो दैट इज हाउ you come to that figure. And for every business it will be different. You'll have to come up with it on your own, but it is, the basic principles are the same.
So, going ahead, Namrata, what factors did you keep in mind when you were planning to take a loan for your business? Were there any specific moments, which made it clear that now, is the time that the business needs a capital boost?
So the first thing is, again, what are your future plans? Are you planning expansion? Or do you need money for operational growth, or do you need money to buy some equipment? So these are the things that we analyze and one should analyze. कि current situation क्या है, available मेरे पास funds क्या है, और मेरा future का plan क्या है. So when I was basically applying for a loan, I really wanted my business to expand, but at the same time, I had very limited funds available with me. And when I was thinking of expansion, luckily we were approached by Crossword Bookstores, and they wanted to onboard us in their stores. Like they wanted us to supply our products to their stores, and it was a very big opportunity for me. And I did not want to lose out on that because I do not have the funds. Now, why did I require funds to supply to them? Because their model is such that you first uh, any retail model is such that you first supply to them, to maybe like 10 stores or 15 stores, whatever they are asking, and they will pay you every month depending on how much sales have happened that month. So for example, like, just I'm giving random numbers for each store. They're asking me to send 1 lakh worth का माल, ठीक है, and they have told me to send it to 10 stores. So मैं 10 lakhs invest करके उनको supply करती हूँ. बट वो प्रोडक्ट्स जब वहां पे पहुंचेंगे, वहां पे डिस्प्ले होंगे, उसके बाद वो नेक्स्ट मंथ में जब सेल होंगे, और 1 लाख का माल है तो सारा का सारा तो एक मंथ में सेल नहीं होगा, मे बी लाइक 25,000 का सेल होगा. तो 10 स्टोर में मेरा 10 लाख इन्वेस्ट हुआ है, बट 10 स्टोर में 2.5 लाख ही सेल हुआ है एक मंथ में. तो मुझे 2 महीने बाद 2.5 लाख ही आ रहे, बट वो रोल ओवर में आएगा, मतलब हर महीने जो सेल हो रहा है वो आता रहेगा. दैट इज द ओवरऑल functioning of offline. So in that case, we needed funds in the initial stage to be able to supply. But I knew for sure that we are going to make sales and the money is going to come back. Just that in that particular period of time, we needed the funds. So that is when I decided that we need to probably go for debt funding or some other kind of funding to make this happen. And again, like I said, so growth opportunities are one thing, your current financial position and your future plans. All these things will determine whether you need a loan or you do not.
So, Namrata, according to you, what is the most common mistake that entrepreneurs tend to make when applying for a business loan?
Very, very important question. I'm glad you have asked this question. In fact, I wish someone had told this to me before I applied for loans. But anyway, I think first of all, it's important to understand that there are different types of funding available in the market, and you need to choose what best suits you. One is obviously a term loan, which you can get from a bank or a financial institute, or now there is revenue-based funding, which is a fairly new concept which has come in, especially for e-commerce and such, you know, startups. Then there are overdraft facilities, and then there is equity funding as well. So you really need to see what is going to work best for your business rather than just jumping onto debt financing is what I would say. Secondly, it takes a lot of time for loans to get for you to find the right proposal to get the loan and the amount in your bank. So I would say that start at least 6 months before. If you have a plan, like I had mentioned earlier, you will know that 6 months down the line, or maybe 1 year down the line, I'm going to need funds. And if that is the case, I would suggest to not wait till the last moment, because then when your business is at risk and you're desperate for money, then you will just throw yourself at any proposal or any loan opportunity that you get, because you are like you do not have the time, you are desperate. So I would say start at least 6 months prior, because you will face rejections, or you, even if you get offers, you will probably not be okay with the terms. And if everything goes well, even then the whole process of evaluation to finalization takes time. So please keep this into consideration. The third point is, and the most important point is, to understand the terms of every loan properly. Nowadays, there are all these new types of funding, like our revenue based funding and so many other things. And people use these technical jargons, which can really confuse you, because, especially for someone who wants to get money urgently or who is taking money for the first time, will really get confused. Because I've been in that situation. So, just to give you an example, I will not take the name of the organization that offered this to me. There was this organization which approved my loan, but they said that the tenure for the loan will be 6 months and the yield yield will be 7% or 8%. So when I first read yield will be 8%, I was very happy, because I thought 8% is the interest rate, and I'm very sure that so many people will also think in the same fashion. So I was like, oh, that's very low. I was very happy with the terms. But later I realized that because the tenure was only 6 months and the yield of 6% was on the complete amount, that means it was 6% for 6 months and not 6% per annum. So that means that 7%. So that means it was almost 14%.
Hmm.
Secondly, for any term loan, usually the interest is calculated on uh, decreasing principal amount. So as the principal amount gets repaid, on the remaining amount, the interest is calculated. But here it was calculated every month on the full amount. So effectively, when I realized that it was not 7%, it was over 20%.
Wow.
And yeah, so luckily for me, my father has been a businessman for many years, and I luckily discussed it with him before approving the terms, and he made me realize this. But for someone who is new and who doesn't have that kind of support or guidance, you can definitely fall prey for all these kind of technical jargons of saying like yield is 7%. So please understand all the terms properly. Please don't be afraid to ask questions to your organization ki ye kya hai, wo kya hai. Even at the risk of sounding foolish. Please trust me on this. People will want you to feel foolish, and that's how they will take advantage of you. So please make sure you ask 10 questions till you are 100% sure of what you are getting into. And that is my number one advice to everyone. And the last thing is that you need to be prepared, in the sense that when someone is lending you their money, they want to be sure that you will repay it to them. That's their primary agenda. So how will they get that confidence that you will do it? So for that, you need to have all your financial reports, your statements, all of those in place, maybe your tax filings. Then you need to have a proper business plan showing what is your plan in the future, how you're going to use the funds, how do you plan on repaying the funds, and in case anything goes wrong, then do you have a backup? So all of these things you need to keep the plan and the reports ready and handy so that everything goes smoothly. Just to add here, with Mahila Money, I've had a great experience, and I'm not just saying it because they've invited me as a speaker. Because I have interacted and worked with other organizations, and I can draw comparisons now. I have had a very good experience with Mahila Money, and everything was very smooth and very transparent. So I really would want to appreciate that.
Now, moving on to our next question, Namrata, how can entrepreneurs effectively communicate their business's value proposition to lenders?
Number one thing that we should do is have a pitch deck. A pitch deck is basically a presentation in which you are explaining your entire business to someone who is interested in investing or interested in offering you some funds. A pitch deck mainly comprises of what your business idea is, what is the problem that you're solving, how you're solving it, what is the solution to that, and what about who are your competitors, the competitive analysis, market research, how much potential the market has. So all of these things combined form the pitch deck, which gives any organization or individual a complete picture of what you are trying to do. Secondly, again, strong financials, like I mentioned earlier. Whatever work you have done so far, or your entire business in numbers, your revenues, your expenses, then your statements, all of these also need to be a part of the pitch deck, which will really help uh, the the investor or the lender see the growth that you have made and see the potential that you offer. Another thing would be again the projections, because whenever a person is offering you money, they want to know where you are going to use that money. Is it going to go in marketing? Is it going to go in operations, or is it going to go in team building? So they also feel secure that okay, my money is being used in the right fashion, and which will help the business grow, and in turn they will be able to repay me. Another thing that you should definitely add are any milestones or testimonials from your clients to build credibility that yes, you are doing good work. There are people out there who are actually, you know, uh, giving you credit for the good work that you have done. So that really helps in building trust of the lender. Risk management is another thing, because every business comes with its own risks, it comes with its own problems, and I feel it's always a great approach to actually uh, you know, point it out, say that yes, yeah, 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 there are problems and we need to work on it. Instead of trying to show a very rosy picture and saying that, my business is perfect, it's better if you yourself tell your lender or your investor that these are the areas where we will be working on. यहाँ पे risk हो सकता है, and what you're going to do to minimize it. कि यहाँ पे issue हो सकता है, तो हम लोगों ने ये plan किया है to, you know, make sure that it won't be a big problem. I think a honest and clear communication really goes a long way.
Then, moving on to our next question, Namrata, how can businesses create a solid loan repayment plan? To avoid financial strain and not default on repayments. If you have any tips you'd like to share.
Of course, of course. First of all, you need to understand the fund flow. आपके business में profit and loss is different, but fund flow is different. When are you getting the payments? How much payment you're getting? how is the what are your expenses मंथ में आपको, आप सपोज डिफरेंट चैनल्स पे सेल कर रहे हो तो उनके पेमेंट की डेट्स क्या है, टू अंडरस्टैंड कि फंड्स आपके पास कब आ रहे हैं और फंड्स आपको कम कब पड़ते हैं, and to make a budget of all your expenses, कि you need to spend suppose x amount of money on marketing, x amount of money on salaries, rent, all of those, and include the EMI in it, कि this is including the EMI, this is the total budget and this is the amount I need every month, and then align it with your cash flow. What I mean by align it with your cash flow is, for example, जैसे मैंने बताया कि क्रॉसवर्ड बुक स्टोर से मुझे मंथली सेल्स का जो अमाउंट होता है वो क्रेडिट होता है. सो सपोज सपोज आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू अ डेट, 25th को हर महीने के 25th को उनका पेमेंट आता है, एंड आई नो फॉर श्योर कि उनका पेमेंट आना ही आना है, एंड इट इज अ शॉर्ट थिंग. एंड 31st को मेरा हर महीने का EMI है, सो आई विल मेक श्योर कि वो पेमेंट मैं रिजर्व रखूं कि दैट पेमेंट इज फॉर द EMI, उसमें से EMI पे होगा. And whatever the other expenses are, I will make sure that I cover them from the revenue that I'm generating from other sources. So that is how you prioritize your EMI payment and make sure कि आपके पास हमेशा वो एक stable steady source of income हो. Now to make this more stable, like I said कि अलग अलग revenue channel से जो revenue आ रहा है वो I have allotted for different purposes. So it's best, and I would really suggest that you go for omni channel approach. मतलब इसका मतलब यह है कि सपोज आई एम सेलिंग ओनली ऑन माई वेबसाइट और वहां से मुझे अच्छा सेल भी हो रहा है, विच इज ग्रेट, बट टुमारो इफ समथिंग हैपेंस टू माई वेबसाइट, सम टेक्निकल इशू हैपेंस, कुछ भी हो गया, सपोज आप इंस्टाग्राम फेसबुक के थ्रू सेल कर रहे हो बट कल को फेसबुक में कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो गया, बंद हो गया फेसबुक, ऐसा हुआ भी है. सो what are you going to do? Your business is going to be completely dependent on that, and now it's not working, and now you are stuck. So to minimize that risk, even we have done the same thing. हमने पहले सिर्फ वेबसाइट से बेचते थे हम लोग. Now we are selling online, offline, on the website, on marketplaces, multiple places, to give stability to our business. कि suppose worst case scenario, that one source of income I was dependent on for some reason, it is not working anymore, I still have the rest 70 or 80% to rely on. So that is one thing I think every business should consider. That is omni channel approach. And another thing that you can do is always have a backup fund ready with you. It might sound difficult, especially when you are, when there is a shortage of funds and you're trying to, raise money or get a loan. It might sound difficult कि पहले ही पैसे मेरे पास कम है तो मैं इमरजेंसी फंड कहाँ से बनाऊं. But you will have to do it in a very organized manner, that like I said, that all your revenue streams, you will have to make sure that they are allotted for a certain purpose, out of which one is going to be backup fund. एंड बैकअप फंड आप तभी भी यूज कर सकते हो अगर EMI पेमेंट्स में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आए. एंड नॉट जस्ट दैट, कोई भी बिजनेस में कभी भी कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है विच वी कैन नॉट ऑलवेज एंटिसिपेट, एंड दैट इज द टाइम दैट फंड इज रियली गोइंग टू हेल्प यू. So that is also one thing I think everyone should consider. And apart from that, of course, it's important that you keep monitoring your business performance, how you will increase your profits, how you will cut down your expenses, cash flow better कैसे कर सकते हैं. ये सब चीजें तो every business has to, keep monitoring.
And Namrata, so while we're on the topic, how did you prioritize the use of loan to maximize the growth of your business?
So, like I mentioned earlier, that I wanted to take a loan, especially to be able to supply to these offline stores, which I needed that one time influx of cash. So obviously I used that money to supply to these stores, and when we started there were like 5 stores, and now we have more than 45 stores all over India where we are still supplying. So that really helped us grow our business, not just revenue. It helped us really with our profitability as well. But while doing that, we were also focusing on creating online channels. Like we listed ourselves on different marketplaces, and not just one or two, a lot of major marketplaces, from where we started generating revenue, and which helped us with our cash flow.
Right.
So, with this money, I was not only able to go for offline, but at the same time, I could also go on online where cash flow was better. These are the tangible aspects of how the business grew. But what I also feel that every entrepreneur should consider are the intangible aspects of growth. So, for example, when we decided to go for crossword, what it did for us was that being associated, a small brand like me at that time, being associated with a brand like Crossword, built a very strong brand credibility amongst our audience. And it helped us reach the right audience in so many different cities. तो उससे क्या होता है ना, मतलब we were able to build our brand in a stronger way. And because of that, many other chains similar to Crossword also came to us because they saw our products there and they were like, Ki, you supply to us also. So even though we used the money only to supply to Crossword, but we were able to get all these new business channels, revenue channels because of that. A lot of times we do not consider these impacts, but they are bigger than the tangible impacts a lot of times. So that one loan has helped me get so many channels and grow a lot more than even I could think of.
That's amazing to know, actually, Namrata. And of course, like, congratulations on growing so much.
Thank you.
Reaching like 45 stores and having even more offers come your way. I think, this is what we talk about, the impact of loan when used strategically. It can have such a massive impact on your business, maybe something that you've not even thought about. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and especially Namrata. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing such, well thought out insights, and the research that you did. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure for sure.